Uganda's main opposition party has said leader Bobi Wine was detained upon returning to the country from a trip abroad. The singer-turned-politician arrived at Entebbe International Airport yesterday after a tour of several countries, including South Africa.
The General Secretary of the National Unity Platform Party, David Louis Rubongoya, Bobi Wine, was picked up by President Museveni's regime operatives as soon as he landed at the airport.
Welcome to Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where are you taking him? 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 Member of Parliament. Member of Parliament. Member of Parliament. Where are you taking him? This is happening on an international airport. They are coming to the plane. They are coming to the plane. This is happening at the international airport. The President and Honorable Kirumira Hassan, Chagulanyi Sentamu have been whisked away by SFC members. No, you cannot push me out. I come on this plane. You must wait. You must wait. You cannot push me out. They are arresting Honorable Hassan Kirumi and the President have been whisked away. This is an airplane. You cannot push me out. No way. You cannot push me out. What you're doing is wrong.
Well, in a twist of events, the police made a social media post, and this is what they had to say. It says there, "We wish to inform the public that the NUP President, John Kyangulanyi Robert, was successfully escorted by our security team from Entebbe to his home in Magere. He reaches home around 11:20 a.m. and is with his family and friends. Disregard rumors of his arrest by propagandists. Meanwhile, business activities and movements along Entebbe Road within Kampala and Gayaza are flowing smoothly." Interesting. Now, let's bring in journalist Darren Bartlett, who joins us from Kampala, Uganda. Good morning, Darren. It didn't seem very much like a friendly escort to his home by the police, and it's not like he requested for escorts.
Good morning. So it's where you sit to interpret what an arrest is. An arrest could be, in the law, they could be preventing you from a crime that is likely to be committed, or when you've actually committed the crime. So there are two things here. And given the history that he's been touring the country, and he's been having quite a number of people, Bobi Wine has been to the west, the north, the east, and we've seen a number of people cover roads and causing jam and things like that. And we all know that before he even stopped those tours, there was a terror threat alert in Uganda that was first raised by the American embassy, and then later on police came out and made a statement and said they also received some information that there's an attempt on his life, on Chagulanyi's life. And then again, a few days ago when he was out, they received information that people were planning to gather and welcome Bobi Wine from wherever he had traveled across the world, including countries like Canada, and that they wanted too much from Entebbe Airport to his home or to his offices, the NUP offices, which is about 57 kilometers. It's quite a long distance. And it's such a busy airport if you've been there before. So to avoid those kind of disruptions in traffic and all that, police came out and said that they discourage any plans by the people of the NUP or supporters of the NUP from marching because of the business disruptions that they may cause on that road. It's just one road. There's no much alternative to it. If you've been to Kampala and Entebbe, it's just one street. So to avoid such disruptions, the police had already issued a statement to the people to stop them from holding such plans. And indeed, by morning, you would see that there were some gathered, people intending to actually execute what the police suspected is going to Indeed, there's quite a number with some civilians wearing red uniforms for the NUP, those the colors of the NUP, and some people were indeed arrested. So they suspected that that move was going to happen, and what they did was to get the president of the NUP from the flight and take him home without mobilizing people on the streets of Kampala, which he called goons. Though different information kept on trickling in that some journalists were arrested. Actually, police does not deny it. It says, yes, there are some journalists who were arrested, but upon arresting them, they were not identifiable. They couldn't identify them as journalists because, I mean, anyone can wear a journalistic gear. You can wear a bulletproof that has press on it. You can have a camera, so anyone can be a journalist, according to the word journalism, including citizen journalism. So they put them. They did arrest them, but they say they put them in some custody for verification of who they are, and then later on release them. And they also acknowledge that in the process of everything that happened yesterday, yes, some people were hurt. Bobi Wine also talked to the press and talked about how his security guard at home, the moment they arrived home, was arrested, and some other people were beaten. That's according to his account, the one he gave, but also police acknowledges that yes, some people were harmed in the process of preventing what could have happened yesterday.
All right. How much of a threat would you say Bobi Wine is to Yoweri Museveni's government for them to go to this extent, ensuring that they're not just arresting journalists? I mean, if you look at some of the tweets that Bobi Wine has shared, he said, and I quote, "In the strongest terms possible, I condemn the brutal treatment of journalists from different media houses by regime operatives today. They were beaten, pepper sprayed, and their gadgets confiscated before many were arrested and taken to Entebbe police station. They were targeted for covering some of the abductions, violent arrests, and the manner in which I was arrested at the airport." So this is just one. We'll come back to talk about the freedom of the press, but how much of a threat would you say Bobi Wine is? We know that he is, I mean, the media reports him as the strongest opposition. But how much of a threat is he to Yoweri Museveni's government?
I don't want to call him a threat as per se, but I mean, he's the strongest opposition member who is available right now. If you look at the other parties, FDC is squabbling with money, fighting division. DP collapsed. Actually, DP joined the NRM. They're in a partnership, which is a political party. The UPC, which is the oldest party, also joined the NRM party, which is the ruling party today. And when you look at the strongest opposition leaders who have been available even before Bobi Wine, I would think maybe Besigye was the strongest. But because no one is in the field at the moment, apart from Bobi Wine, he then emerges as the strongest. I mean, even in the election, he came second to the president. It's just that the nature of politics and how it always turns out, you can never know the intentions of who joins what rally. I mean, there are times when the NRM government has had its rallies, and then people have taken advantage of it, and chaos has happened. There are times when Bobi Wine was actually arrested in Jinja during the presidential campaigns, and the whole country, not the whole country per se, but some parts of the country went rowdy, including Kampala, where I am. We had instances where you couldn't move from office to home because the roads were being burnt, the people were being beaten, others were being robbed, and things like that. So it depends on how you want to treat it. But yes, if it comes to political opposition, Bobi Wine is the strongest. I mean, that would be his strongest opponent in the field, who came closer to him. And indeed, if you see the results that came out of the presidential election, the margin of win was that very narrow. That means he's a strong candidate. I mean, it speaks for itself. But when you want to if you want to look at it as a threat, I don't think so. He's really a threat. I would just say politically, yes, he could be a threat. But in terms of power, I don't think so.
I mean, but also to talk about Bobi Wine himself, I know he has, like you've mentioned now, the gap, with the election seems to be closing. And maybe next elections, it might just be the time when Bobi Wine gets a taste of victory for the first time. But I want to, talk about Bobi Wine as a politician and as an activist, and the reason that gap seems to be closing. Is it because the people are tired of the government in Uganda, or Bobi Wine himself has been able to present a better option? Because you could be an opposition candidate, you can engineer people to support you and to be against the government, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have anything better to offer. And so, what is the mindset concerning Bobi Wine as the lead opposition candidate in Uganda? Do the people believe that he is a better option, or they are just sick and tired of the current government in Uganda?
Many times it's the message that a presidential candidate or a politician preaches. When you look at the slogan of NUP, it is people power, that the power belongs to the people. That is the message that he's preaching. And then when you also look at the people he represents, Uganda is 70% youth. He is one of them. He's been singing for them for a very long time. He's held concerts, people sing to his songs. So first of all, they relate with Bobi Wine as a musician before he becomes a politician. And secondly,
all right. Seem to be losing you there, Darren Bartlett. Of course, as we try to reconnect with him, the conversation is.
I think that's a very important question that you ask, because we see it not just in Uganda, in several other African countries where the African leaders are clinging to power. Sometimes you find that people are tilting more to the strongest opposition, not necessarily because they think the person is a fantastic candidate, but also because they want something different. All right.
Yeah.
Darren, welcome back. Please go ahead with the conversation.
I was saying that when you look at the symbol, Bobi Wine and the people he represents, he's a guy who had dreads. He calls himself a ghetto president. He's been down in the trenches. He's been singing. He's been moving around the country before he became a musician, a politician. So you definitely know he was actually one of the top 3 artists in the country. He was, at some point, he was the artist of the year. So his name is definitely familiar, and the messages he sings, the things he sings are very relatable to the biggest population of of the country, which is the youth, 70%. So you definitely know that the moment he announced himself into politics, when he became a member of parliament, it was a walkover for him. What the country lacks, to be very honest, is civic education. And that is why you find that people vote for people who they feel they just relate with. It doesn't have to be your manifesto. It doesn't have to be anything that you promise on the table. It's just that we relate with you, and that's what we want. And people just go with that. So
All right. Darren, we're hoping that we can reconnect with you and wrap up the conversation shortly. And when Darren joins us back, I'd like us to also look at what exactly the situation is, because Bobi Wine has said, whilst the police has said one thing, the police has said that they've escorted him back, but Bobi Wine has said that he's under house arrest. All right. Welcome back, Darren.
I know, sorry, I know someone keeps calling my line, and
I've
decided to just put off the whole phone, but it's okay.
It's okay,
go
ahead.
What I'm saying is that, what I'm saying is that because of the symbol he is, and people relate so much with first his music and as an artist before he becomes a politician, so it becomes so easy to identify.
I must assume that there's some sort of an SOS. This person desperately needs to speak with Darren, and we're hoping that person can maybe hold on a little until we're done with the interview.
Yeah, right.
I think that it's also important for us to find out what exactly the current situation is, because whilst we saw a video that showed Bobi Wine being pulled off by some men, the police has come out to say that they escorted him home and he's sitting at home. Bobi Wine has, however, tweeted that he's under house arrest, and that he's under house arrest, and we're hoping that we can get some statement as to what exactly the true position is. Are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I would like you to speak on Bobi Wine's possible house arrest. Whilst the police says that they escorted him home and he's safe at home, he's talked about the situation that he's met at home, how he's been surrounded by guards, not being let, how security officers are not allowing visitors coming to see him, and basically that he's under house arrest. Do we have further details? Has the police said anything about this? And what will probably be the next steps for Bobi Wine?
Police denies anything to do with arresting Bobi Wine, and they believe that he's not under house arrest. As a matter of fact, people are able to visit him. We've seen there are pictures. I mean, even when he gave his press conference, you can see the leader of opposition, who comes from Bobi Wine's party, was present. Some of his lawyers were present there. Quite a number of NUP member of parliament were actually there with him when he gave a press conference. About not letting people get in, I mean, it's very evident. We see pictures of people visiting him, but I've not seen an attempt of him trying to leave his home, leaving. So has he made any intention to leave his home, to go anywhere to his offices? No, he hasn't, unless he plans to. So until maybe he plans to leave home and he's been restricted from leaving his home, then we can say that he's under house arrest. I mean, he could say he's under house arrest. That is according to him. But I mean, we've seen times when he was under house arrest. We've seen times when he wanted to leave and he was prevented from leaving his home. But this time, has he tried to leave his home and he has been prevented from leaving his home? I don't know.
Well, at 6:02 p.m. on the 6:02 p.m. on the 5th of October, Bobi Wine tweeted and he said, "They have increased military and police deployment all around our home and blocked our visitors from coming in. Soldiers have broken part of our fence and forced their way into part of our compound to prevent me from leaving. Museveni must know that his incompetent criminal regime will soon collapse no matter what he does." So hence the question that was being asked. I mean, he claims that he's under house arrest. So, you know, we wonder if the police has said anything about it yet. But you're saying that he's not. Okay, go ahead.
No, police has not come out to say that they have arrested Bobi Wine. You know, that it could also be very using careful language to not to present what they probably is happening, but they have not come out to say that he's under arrest. They're just making sure that probably his movement, which he has not attempted to do since he was taken home, does not cause gatherings of people and chaos eventually. I mean, we've seen this with Dr. Besigye, who was once the president's doctor and the presidential candidate. That one there was under house arrest before he escaped and went to exile and came back, arrested again. I mean, there's a time that prevented him from leaving his home when he wanted to do protesters of walk to work, and they knew that his movement would gather people and it would cause chaos eventually. Yes, even when Bobi Wine had just been arrested from Arua, was brought back to Kampala when he was planning to stand for presidency and all those things. That happened then because they prevented him from moving away from his home, knowing that his movement would then eventually gather people unnecessarily and cause chaos, because there are so many people who take, according to police, they say people take advantage of such movements and steal people, rob people, and so on and so forth. This time, since Bobi Wine has been delivered home, police has not even come out to confirm that they have actually arrested him. No, they just according to them, they say, and the clip you see, they got him, put him in a private car, and then drove him to his home and delivered him at his home. Yes, they have security around his home, but is the security to prevent him or to prevent people from gathering? So there are two things that police will clarify on their own, because Bobi Wine will say he's been prevented from leaving, but has he attempted to leave? If he has attempted to leave, he has failed to leave, then we can say that he's been arrested.
The next elections are in 2026. Is there really any, reason behind, any political agitations in 2023?